just...
You want to check Dota buff numbers right now? You want to see who's playing more Dota?
Yeah,
you want to see who's playing more?
All right, Avery, we are just about to head to Riyadh, you and I. You're flying out tomorrow, I assume?
Yeah.
All right, so we are both flying out to Riyadh. You guys are going to see us there in person, doing a little casting for the event. But what I did not realize about Riyadh, because I do not do my research very far ahead, and in fact, the only reason I actually know anything was because they asked me to do a voiceover. Have you seen this tournament's format?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different, right? It's I did not expect this. It would explain why we are there for longer than we were last year. It's because the format is entirely different.
Yeah, it's like 3 tournaments in one.
Yes, it really is. It's like 3 mini tournaments. So we're gonna do our predictions for Riyadh, but first we got to talk about the format before we get there. So we have all the Riyadh teams. It is a lot of teams. We have 20 teams that are going to be participating at Riyadh, and many of them we are not going to see right away because all of the invited teams are already seeded into the group stage or the second group stage. Before what they are calling the group stage. For the group stage, there is a play-in stage where all of the teams who qualified from the various region qualifiers are going to be playing against each other in 2 different groups, Group A and Group B, and they will play in a round-robin group stage. And the top 3 are guaranteed into the next stage, which is called the group stage. The 4th and 5th place of these individual groups will play a best of 3 against the opposing group. So the 4th place in Group A will play the 5th place in Group B, and vice versa, right? 4th place in Group B will face 5th place in Group A to determine which, basically kind of like which group was kind of stronger, who deserves to actually move on. So the winner of that best of 3 will go on to the group stage as well, and then everybody else is eliminated. So the last place team in Group A and Group B are eliminated, and the ones who lose their 4th versus 5th place matchup will also be eliminated. Do you like that? Let's just start with that. Any feedback on that?
I mean, it's fine. If you want to run a 3-week tournament, you got to do something that builds some sort of early storyline or hype. I think it's fine. It's basically the road to Riyadh, right?
Are you okay with not seeing the top 8 teams for the first week of the tournament, basically?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Again, you're running a 3-week event. Like, you can't just have Team Spirit play for 3 weeks straight. Teams are going to be almost burnt out, or they're at a disadvantage for doing it, like for being invited. Doesn't really make sense. I think this format makes sense. I think it's fine. I don't know. A lot of Dota between a lot of different teams. You're going to see a lot of matchups. You're going to have some progression, at least. You're going to have teams eliminated in every phase of it. I think it's pretty good. No complaints from me.
I think by far one of the most interesting things about this is that there are stronger regions, and you try and balance that out by inviting the teams who are most successful throughout the season, which usually means you're inviting teams from the stronger regions, right? We have a lot of Western European teams who are going to be in this tournament because a lot of them had enough points to be able to qualify, right? Gaming Gladiators, Tundra, Liquid, OG, half of the invited teams are all from Western Europe. So then the teams left over make it through the Western European qualifier, and that is going to show the depth of the region, right? It's like, okay, Western Europe is strong, but is the 5th and 6th best team as good as North America's best team, and we're actually going to be able to see that in action, where only the regional qualifier teams are playing up against each other, and we'll see who actually deserves to be able to match up against the invited teams in the next round. The round after that, so after we get through this initial play-in stage with the groups, and then we get through the 4th, 5th place decider, then we go into the actual group stage where we will be putting all of these teams, 8 teams into Group A, and then 8 teams into Group B, and then we're going to do another round robin deal where we're going to have the usual setup where some teams are eliminated, some teams get lower bracket, some teams get upper bracket. Why are you laughing?
Dude, you've been explaining this format for like 10 minutes now. Like, let's just start predicting some shit, bro. People know what's going on. There's going to be a lot of Dota. It's like a group stage in the playoff bracket, blah, blah, blah. Let's predict some shit. Like, it's too much. It's too much. No one, like, honestly, does anybody give a fuck about formats? I feel like the only people who give a fuck about formats are like Nahaz and like an eighth of the hardcore Redditors. That's it. Those are the only people who are like,
the people who listen to this show. Yes, the people who listen to this show. The people who would be hardcore enough Dota fans to listen to a Dota esports podcast.
The absolute best. I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying most people are just going to watch the tournament. And even the people you explain this to are going to be like 1 week in and they're going to forget what it is and be like, why isn't Gaming Gladiators playing right? I guarantee you that the chat for the first 3 days is going to be like, where's Nigma? Where's Bet Boom? Where's Falcon? You know, that's all it's going to be. So, whatever.
Looking forward to seeing my favorite team, Shopify Rebellion. When are they playing, guys?
Yeah, they're playing in group stage 6.
Are they already invited to play in stage?
Maybe we can do a road to the road to Riyadh. Maybe that's the future. Have a play-in for the group stage for the main bracket that's triple elim that has a recursion phase where halfway through that final bracket we play another play back in tournament that you can resuscitate your life. That would be kind of hype, actually, but maybe we'll hold that for another day. Someone can have that idea, though. I'll give it to you for free.
So, really quick, you like this format. You think it's a good format. I think it's a good format. I think it's so funny that we think this is a good format because I remember a long time ago talking to somebody from television who was working now on the esports side. And they talked about how they didn't like double elimination because viewers would find it confusing when a team loses but is still in the tournament. The simplicity, they're like, that's why single elimination is better. The simplicity of single elimination was a must-have in his mind because the viewer would get confused. Meanwhile, esports over here is like, yeah, we have the group stage and the play-in to the group stage, and you get like 50 chances and you can lose like 40% of your matches and still be potentially in the top 3.
I mean, the problem is it's just so much faster than any traditional sport. Like the speed at which you can run matches in esports is uncontestable, so you can have formats like this and you're trying to get a lot more viewership hours. Like traditional sports, it takes way longer to set up matches and play them. So I think if the time fits the category, then you are better doing single elim, because I think single elim is just a better storyline and it's every match is hype, and then you don't have any filler and there's no second chances, so everyone just plays it outright. And most
you get more
leagues have
Cinderella
something
stories, I believe, out of single elimination, right? A great example would be Boston, right? We had Adfinum, is that what they were called back then? Anyway, the Greek stack, right? Make it all the way to the finals. That was obviously they didn't manage to win it, but still. Yeah,
Team NP make top 8. It's pretty hype for those boys.
Of course. Can't forget about them.
I don't know if is there ever like a world you can have single elim in a esports, in a Dota tournament, I should say. Other esports, sure, but in Dota, it's pretty rough. You'd have to do a lot of group stage, a lot of seeding. I mean, we've done it before, but I think at this point where tournaments are shifting more towards online, there's no crowds, there's no arena costs. I don't see it going back to that, right? Like you're just trying to milk as many viewer hours as you can. So the more matches you can have on the more streams over longer duration, the more value you're getting out of your initial setup cost. Makes sense to me. I mean, you said I think this format's good. First off, I don't know if I said it was good. You can play back the recording. I probably did. What I meant to say is this format's fine because I genuinely don't give a fuck about formats anymore. I just don't. You can throw any, like me as a player, I did. As a caster, I don't give a shit. The only part of it that I really give a shit about is that it creates a hype storyline, because then it makes the games more interesting. But that can happen regardless, right? That most of the time, that's 90% decided by just the team matchups and how they're playing, not really the format. So, okay, sure. But outside of that, I don't. whatever you want to do, man. I think most formats all end up being the same in Dota anyway. Either play well and go on, or you suck dick and go home. Like, that's just life, you know? As a player, I played in some that were really bad, and I think they got weeded out over the last 10 years. But outside of the really bad ones, like, who's even complaining about formats anymore?
You don't miss GSL format? GSL group stage?
I mean, I don't mind GSL if it's seeded properly, but I played in a lot that were not seeded properly at all. Like, do you remember
two extremely good teams? Okay, you have to beat one of these teams in order to get out of your group.
So stupid. The stupidest one was actually the tournament that got canceled. That was the one like before
Los
LA
Angeles?
Major or whatever. And they seeded those groups. And I remember our group was like EG, OG, and Secret or something. And then us. And they were like, those three teams were effectively three of like the top 5 of the season. But it was some stupid ruling, like because Secret didn't have DPC points, they got seeded as like a 4th seed. And it was like the Nisha Secret. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is the point? Like, it's so stupid how some of those got seeded. Absolutely insane. Well, we didn't play that tournament though, so I guess fuck them. But, you know, outside of that, I think most formats are all the same to me. I don't really care. Just have everybody play each other. I think just have it like the team that gets eliminated at least has a chance to play at least over 3 days and 10 games minimum before you're eliminated, right? I think you should at least give teams that minimum chance to like get shit together. I don't like when teams get eliminated in 1 or 2 days. I think it's like you're flying out to an event and then you're done in 48 hours. Like, what the hell's the point of that? I don't think tournaments get the value out of that team. Maybe they don't care, and I think playing less than 10 games total, 5 BO2s or whatever, is also like, you're not giving a team enough chance to maybe have a rough day 1 or 2 and recover. So outside of those two things, I don't really give a shit. And
since you don't give much of a shit, we can stop talking about formats that you've been talking about for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and
thank God.
We can move on to predictions. And we're gonna milk the just like the tournament organizer milks out all of these games. We're gonna milk out to the predictions. So we are going to start with the play-in stage. Predictions for that. We got Group A: East Coast, Blacklist International, Entity, G2IG, LGD Gaming, Virtus Pro. So, do you want to just have what team you think is going to eliminate it? Or do you want to say, go even more specific? What team is going to make it? What teams are going to make upper bracket? Or what teams are going to make top 3 and what team's going to get eliminated?
Yeah, we'll do top 3 in elimination. I don't care about middle pack. Nobody cares about that shit.
Sure, and that's also a bit of a toss-up, right? It's like, at that level,
it's going to be some
who you
stupid
match up
tiebreaker.
against best of 3 is like, that's a roll of the dice. Yeah.
I think out of Group A, Entity, 100% lock.
Yep.
My boy Jack Chen, legendary manager on G2IG, 100% lock.
Of course.
100% lock. It's not even wavering. So you got those two teams 100% lock. Teams taking that 3rd slot, I think, is I feel like it's LGD, honestly. I think Blacklist are just going to continue to collapse here. I think Beast Coast, I don't think Beast Coast is going to get eliminated, but I don't see them getting that top 3. And I think Virtus Pro or Blacklist are getting eliminated.
I think the interesting part about this is Blacklist and Virtus Pro have already crumbled pre-tournament. We talked about the fact that we had back-to-back qualifiers where you're going to potentially go into this tournament feeling like shit because, you won the qualifier to get there, but then immediately afterwards you lost the TI qualifier. So, congrats, you made it to land, but you haven't proven to be that good. You're not proving that you're actually going to have a strong performance here at Riyadh because you couldn't even win within your own region. I think that applies to
one of East Coast, Blacklist, or Virtus Pro is just collapsing here, right? But it's kind of hard to tell who. But I feel like Blacklist will win enough games they don't get eliminated. I feel like I don't know. Actually, this might be the hardest. This is like way harder than who's going to win this group.
Is who's going to get eliminated? Who's going to collapse harder?
Like, because Beast Coast has no experience. That's their weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Blacklist is punching each other in the face, so that's their weakness. And VP is like apparently the most hit or miss team out of CIS. That's what I learned. So
yeah,
like they have G as their coach. This guy is like 16 years old in the scene. I have no clue, dude. I have no clue. I'm just gonna pick. I'm gonna pick
the
one.
Weirdest way to put this. This guy's been in the scene for playing Dota for like 16 years.
Yeah, that came out a little weird, but you know what I mean. You know what? I'm gonna. I'll just say Beast Coast. I'll root against. I think the lack of experience is gonna hurt him here.
No, it's gonna be Blacklist. Blacklists are eliminated.
No, there's no way, dude. Like, okay, I think they're getting eliminated in the next phase for sure. But like, I think they're gonna make it. They're gonna squeak. I think they'll squeak into that 4-5, but then I think they're gonna lose in that decider. That's what I'm calling. So I don't think they're gonna make it, but they'll make it in the decider.
Beast Coast, I think. My bet is, because I've seen this story before, right? Super young team, bunch of fresh talent. These guys are going to have a very low floor and a high ceiling, and I'm going to bet on Beast Coast actually making it through to the next stage. Now, whether that's through the top 3 or through the 4th, 5th matchup or something like that, but I think they're going to make it through. I don't know.
Nah, I'm not seeing it through. I don't think this team's ceiling is as high as you think. I think they actually struggled in that SA qual, and that SA qual was not stacked at all. I actually, the more I'm talking to myself about this, I'm like, yeah, I'm putting Beast Coast getting eliminated here. Nothing against them. I like the guys on the team, but like, they got the harder group for sure.
You don't even know the guys on the team, do you?
What do you mean? I've been talking about Moose forever.
I know you know Moose.
I've played pubs against Vitali forever.
Okay.
Pack is up and coming. I think this team can have some potential, but like, super inexperienced and struggle in the NSA quals. I'm not favoring them here, and I think it's going to be a tight race at that bottom 3. So. Look, I'm not saying Blacklist is going to the next group stage. I think they're getting eliminated too. I just think they're going to get to play like 1 or 2 more series. That's all.
Well, before you settle on them also getting eliminated, we have to know who their matchup would be. So let's take a look at Group B, where we have Aurora, Azure, Heroic, Mouse, Nouns, PSG Quest. Another team that crumbled. Mouse crumbled. They crumbled at the TI qualifiers. They did not do very well there at all. So what? That's 4 teams. 3 teams that had that happen to.
All right, I think top 3. Heroic, PSG Quest, I don't want to say Aurora, but I'm gonna say Aurora, dude. But I don't want to say
you're not gonna say Azure at all.
No, I think the race for elimination is actually gonna be between Azure and Mouse. I think those 2 teams are the 2 I think are the bottom 2. I think Noun's going to finish middle of the pack. They might have to play decider. They might be able to squeak it out over Aurora if they throw away some games. But I think Azure Nouns or Azure Mouse are getting out here. I just don't have faith in this Azure team. I think Low is just, that guy is like the most inactive carry I've ever seen in my life, dude. He's like the super old school Chinese carry. I don't know what happened to him. He used to play more aggressive. This guy has reverted immensely for me, and I don't think you can win Dota with an AFK carry, even if he comes online super well and plays those phases of the game. I don't know. I think his team is just kind of too slow. They might be able to get into the decider though. That's why this format's tough, because like you're gonna be like 2-5, some other teams gonna be 2-5, and then it's gonna come down to like 1 series on the last day. You know, that stupid crap. That's like so hard to predict, man. So I don't know. I think Mouse is getting eliminated. I'm gonna say that. But I think Azure Ray is going to be in that decider. And I think Nouns or Aurora will be in that decider. But I think Heroic and Quest are going through here.
Yeah.
I have
Azure
faith in my boys, Heroic.
They also lost to G2IG and Zero for the Chinese qualifier. So that's a 4th team that got to Riyadh but lost TI quals. You put PSG Quest pretty early up there in the top 3.
100%.
Has your opinion changed about PSG Quest?
No.
Or is it about the rest of the field?
My opinion hasn't changed at all. But this field does not have the fast European teams, so they're going to crush everybody.
Okay.
Like, none of these teams play fast enough to abuse their weakness, right? Well, I think only Heroic does, but I also have them going through. So I think the Nouns Quest series will go 3 games, for example, and that's probably close. But again, I don't have Nouns getting eliminated, so I think Quest will just demolish everybody else, and they're like for sure going to go through here. Their weakness is all these top European teams. That's it. Super unfavorable against, like, I think Falcons, Bet Boom, Gaiman, XG, Tundra, Liquid, Spirit. So 7 of the top 8. Maybe you're okay against OG. You're going to struggle. But none of those teams are in this, so who gives a shit? They're going to crush everybody. They're still a very consistent team. The floor is very high on this team, so
okay,
they're Gucci.
Last episode, you heard me give my top 4. I want to first ask, do you have any of these teams from the play-in stage making top 4?
As in doable, or they're going to? Because some have doable, right? Entity could.
Sure.
Aurora could. Did it last year. PSG Quest technically could, I think. I even think Heroic could be like a top 6 team if they really squeak out some lower brackets, which, like, that's heck their specialty, but that's the really big stretch one. LGD technically could be a top 4, but not in their current form, I think. But it is Zhao 8. Like, who the hell ever knows, right? But realistically, probably not. I don't see any of these teams getting top 4 here. I think those matchups are damn tough outside of Aurora. Aurora is just the one wildcard team. Out of all 12 of these, I think they actually have the best shot of being a top 4 team, simply because that team is super streaky, and when they're on a heater, man, right? Like, they just chow through teams because they got their, like, late game slow gameplay shit figured out, and everybody else is choking and they're just out farming you. Like, they get on that type of heater, okay, yeah. But again, I'm not rating that super high percentage wise.
Yeah, but don't forget they're also one of the teams with region mixing, which I know you're not a fan of.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
That is true. Yeah.
I do rate this team a little worse than last year with Lornoff than Makoto. I think Makoto was like, he had more of that ultra late game flair that sometimes pushed them over the edge. So yeah, maybe I am just rating this team too highly. Yeah, they don't have a chance getting top 4. I'm gonna retract that.
Damn.
I mean, they do, but, like, I'm not gonna bet on it.
Okay. So we will continue to do our predictions. We are going to try and record when we are there at Riyadh. So you're still going to hear from us as we get through the tournament and as we see the decider matchup and the next group stage and all that sort of thing. But I want to hear, before we see any of the matches, your top 4. Since you heard my top 4.
I mean, Team Spirit's going to win this tournament. I don't think it's close. I actually don't think it's even fucking close.
It certainly isn't close if they're facing Gaiman Gladiators.
I mean, whatever, man. That's like Gaiman just... I mean, I'm surprised Gaiman took a game in that series. They're like... I think Team Spirit's drafts were terrible, and they demolished them. Like, that's how not close I think. I don't even think Gaiman got out drafted. I think... I was like, Spirit were picking Terrorblade. You know how I feel about that hero. You know, Maposhka's profile picture is Terrorblade. Like, they're playing Terrorblade, Nyx Assassin. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on in that camp. Their lineups look super slow. You said
that was a sign of some sort of rot.
That's why I think they're going to win. Because if Team Spirit is demolishing a top 8 team with Terrorblade Nyx in 25 minutes, like, what? You better be looking at this team going, oh shit, we're fucked, right? Like, you have no chance. You have no chance.
No, my point was, you said it was a sign of rot within the foundation of the team, and doesn't that mean that they will crumble at the end of the tournament? That's when the rot really sets in.
Yeah, but this
3
team
weeks from now, we're going to see them.
Bro.
Okay,
they have immunity to crumbling. Okay. They have Terrorblade immunity. Like, Yatoro if the Yatoro tells you to pick a hero, you're going to pick it. It doesn't matter. Okay. So that's not the same thing. That's not like some guy being like, I think Terrorblade's good this patch, right? That's Yatoro just being like, give me this hero because I don't like these kids. Like, that's it. That's a way different pick.
I'm going to embarrass them right now.
Yeah, that's not even the same thing at all. So Spirit number 1, not even close. I would probably bet $8 million on them if I had it. I think I'm kidding. Don't bet your money. I give Spirit a pretty solid percentage here. I think maybe even over 50.
That's a healthy percentage.
Yeah, I'm like really big on this team. When I feel like Spirit's going to win a big number event, dude, I'm telling you, it's the biggest money event of the year, biggest first place. These guys see that check with all those zeros at the end, and they go into hyper anime mode, hyperbolic training chamber, especially when they've had a couple events in the year they've been struggling at. It's like the perfect setup for them, dude. They're still kind of underdogs. People are like, oh, they're good, but are they that good? And they're coming in and just going to slap your fucking ass. So they're my number one. I think you're looking at XG2.
XG is going to be in the finals against Spirit.
Yeah, dude, I think so. I actually think so. I believe in my boy Q. I believe in my boy Q. I think he's going to have it. There's some weird fours in the pool right now. I think this guy, he's in his zone. He's in his zone, but it's a close between them and Falcons. I could see Falcons being 2, but I think Falcons won too much shit, man. You win too much shit and you go in these big tournaments. Not easy. Everyone's got a target on your back. You're the favorite. Maybe you feel a little pressure. Like, this patch is, how good is this patch for them? Probably still pretty damn good. I still expect them to do very well. Eevee is definitely a top 3 finish for them, but I got him at 3rd, bro. I got him at 3rd. That's all I'm going to say. Not hating on the boys, but not hating on the boys. Okay. They're very likely they could do higher. If I had to pick a team that I had the highest percentage would be in the top 3, outside of Spirit, because obviously they're going to win it, it would probably be Falcons, right? Like out of all these top 8, you know, out of Falcons, Tundra, Bet Boom, Game, and whatever, if I had to pick one of those that was going to be in the top 3 in some position, I'd probably pick them. So the floor, I think, is insanely high for them. But Team Spirit's ceiling is like stratosphere, bro. It's not even, I mean, if you're playing Nyx Assassin terribly and you're beating the fastest European team in 25 minutes, like, what are we even doing here? Just give them the win and let's play the rest of the tournament, you know? Let's have like a four stage just called the Spirit trophy presentation, and we can just do that at the start, and then they don't have to play for 3 weeks, and then we just play the rest of the tournament. And then after someone wins a tournament, they go in a separate room and they have to play Spirit again for like a show match, you know.
they win that penultimate matchup, you know, they win it, they're excited, confetti's coming out, there's the trophy, they go to walk, and all of a sudden they hear the Undertaker bell. Dong.
Yeah, the Toro just
and
walks
all of a sudden your Toro walks out bald as fuck.
I'm telling you, it's over. It's over. So I got Spirit, XG, Falcons, and if you want that 4th place team,
so far it's all the same as me.
You can say Liquid? No, it is not. Like, it is not Liquid. It is not one of these European teams, I think. My internal debate right now is actually between Tundra, Bet Boom.
Not one of these European teams. I guess that does apply to Tundra. The 3 Russians plus Indonesian for Whitemon.
I'm actually thinking like,
thinking OG?
No, this PSG Quest team.
Oh my god, he's going back to PSG Quest.
They might make a run, dude. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm looking at this field. If they get like good bracket orientation.
You said they're not favored against 7 out of 8 of the invited teams. But
they're going to cannibalize each other, dude. They're going to cannibalize each other. It's not possible
for them to dodge them in the playoffs. They will have to match up against some of those 7 teams that you listed.
Dude, Tundra is just, this team is like, I want to say them, but they are so all over. It's so hard to have faith in this team. Like you want to see them do well because they're super cool to watch, but like, there's also just this looming cloud of like, this like Moon Meander here and shit. Like, it's a wild card of a team, man. I don't know. God damn, why is this 4th place so hard? Actually insane. You know what? I'll take Tundra. Man. I'll take Tundra.
Sell out to the sponsor.
I think has nothing to do with. I just shit talked after. I think I actually liked some of the games in the TI quals. That's how I'm going to phrase it. I think if they can get Ramsey's operating at a level that I think he's capable of, then this team they're still in that spot where like they're underdogs. There's not a lot of pressure on them, but they have a lot to prove, but they have veteran players. That's a good mix. That's actually a pretty good mix. Biggest question with Tundra for me is honestly the leadership, because it's just been like all over the place this year, right? Like you bring in MC, he gets kicked, and you bring in Moon, then it's like, oh, now Pure's the captain. Now you bring in Ramses, who's like super dominant in-game shot caller. Like Thompson's a silent player, but you kind of have to play around him. You know, for me, the leadership on this team is, if they figure it out, it's going to help them a lot. I just don't know what exactly it looks like compared to like some of these teams that just have it super locked down. I just don't see. I think Gaiman are just going to struggle, dude. Like, I don't see them making a run. I don't have faith in Liquid. I think it's Tundra or Quest, man.
What you haven't said anything about BitBoom, which you suggested as one of my top 4 when you were trying to guess my predictions.
Because on paper they are. Not? On paper they are. But
of course, they're always on paper. They are always top 3.
I think they're 5th or 6th again, man. That's where I have them. I think they're on the cusp of that top 4, but I actually don't think they're there. Because they're going to go in that last bracket. And they're going to, like, realistically, they're going to have to play either Falcons, XG, or Spirit. Mm-hmm. There's a decent chance they play one of those 3 teams, and I don't think they're beating one of those 3 teams. And if they get knocked down early, I don't think they're going
crumble
all the way. Yeah, I don't think they're going all the way. So that's why maybe I have them a little lower here, but I would not be surprised to see them there. I think it's close. I did say BetBoom or Tundra, so
okay.
Keep that in mind.
I did not pit BetBoom as a similar because they're always on paper. But how many times have we said that? Been saying that for like 2 years now. On paper, this is a tournament winning team, and they don't win tournaments. So hard to believe in them. I am a big believer in Pure, though, so I appreciate your Tundra prediction. Even if I didn't have them, I do believe in Pure. But yeah, that team is messy. It's hard to to put faith in them as well, I think.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a wild card team. I mean, there's a couple of those, right? I think Tundra's a wild card team, Quest wild card team, Aurora wild card team, Heroic wild card team. I actually think Heroic's gonna be top 8 somehow. I don't even know how. I'm just never root against Hector getting below top 8. That's all I've learned over like 10 years of Dota. This guy is the top 8 master, as Falcons would say, right? He gets top 8 and then he goes home, but like the man gets there. He gets over that line. So I feel like that's in the cards as well. A lot of teams this tournament, man. A lot can happen. But I'm pretty confident in my predictions. I think mine are going to be better than yours for sure. I'm going to make that last prediction.
They really weren't that different from mine.
Whatever, man.
You almost had Falcons versus Spirit, just like I did.
Well, all these little things make all the difference, motherfucker.
And throw extreme in there because yours.
Yeah, because yours are going to be wrong for sure. So like, it's got to be something different. That's how I'm thinking, right? There's no way you got this correct. So therefore, that gives me a leg up because I already know one outcome that can't be. So never do your predictions first.
When you're looking at it, though, when you have to decide the top 4, it does feel like there is not as much room for upset compared to previous years, despite the fact that there is this new big patch, right? Like you would think new big patch usually means that there is potential for a lesser skilled team to be able to upset the meta by figuring things out ahead of other people. Is that a correct assessment? I don't even know
if that's true anymore. Because it goes back to the last episode where we talked about how the game is changing and like my idea of the game is becoming more about unilateral cores are all the same across the board, and it's more about itemization and how players can figure out itemizations more than the heroes. So I feel like these patches, like, it's not like suddenly the 10 previous broken heroes are garbage and you have to play 10 new heroes and the team that's better at those is suddenly good. I don't think the heroes are going to change. Like, the heroes are going to change, but they're only going to change because people are just kind of adapting what they were doing to something else, right?
Like how they're played is not going to change that much.
Like, or how the teams are playing the game, I should say. The overall macro is not going to change. Like, Falcons are going to do the same things every game, even if their hero pool changes by 20, 30%, and the item pool changed by 23%. The game is still functioning the same way, and the top teams are very good at figuring that out better and playing the map better and beating you in the late game more consistently because they understand how to itemize better, and you're catching up over the course of a tournament. None of those fundamentals are going to change, so I just don't see patches really upsetting teams that are really good as quickly as they used to. Now, that can happen over the course of like a year and a half or two, right? We saw that with Gaimin. Like, Gaimin definitely got disrupted. They won a fuck ton, maybe more than any other team in a year, and they got patched pretty damn hard because, yeah, I mean, they had like a pretty well-rounded hero pool, but like their hero pools got absolutely annihilated. There's no way around it, and that's tough. Maybe I think they were one of those teams that was a bit more dependent on them too because of their play style. Like, if you look at how Gaimin was playing a lot of those grand finals previous year and stuff, they're a team that's really dependent on that laning phase in the early game snowball. Way more than these other teams, right? Way more than a Spirit or a Falcons or a XG, who are way more solid in those late game scenarios. It's not the Rachio strength to just like 1v5 in the late game. Great snowball and an aggro carry, but the team kind of has to play around that. And this patch just doesn't really seem suited to that. It doesn't seem like teams are able to end the game in, like, with the snowball drafts in 30 minutes. Maybe the game ends in 30 minutes because you got vastly outplayed, but it's not because like you picked Alchemist and you're going higher on a 25. So they really that team got hurt by the patch more than anybody else, which maybe should be expected. I think Liquid is also in that same category because they played very similar. And I think it's why they're struggling too. Like, there's no real good Zoo heroes that tempo the game out for 33. Like, Boxy is their biggest shot caller driver, but he's playing stuff like Tusk and like these random melee heroes that just aren't that good, right? It's like, it's just a weird spot for them too. You know, like they'll play Oracle.
Liquid definitely feels like the team that is most lost out of all of the invited teams. That top 8, Liquid definitely feels like they are the most lost, and it would be quite the miraculous turnaround. It feels like for them to show up and be a dominant team at Riyadh.
Yeah, I think this is one of those teams. Actually, I feel like it's been a long time since I don't actually have issue with any of the players on the team. I don't think there's like, oh, if they kick this guy, they become better, right? Or if you slot this guy and they become better. I actually don't think it's a skill or player issue. It's just, it's like, how do they make the players work in the current state of the game? What does that look like, right? It goes back to the question we asked like up 2 months ago. How do you make 33 with his heroes and tempo work with Mickey and his heroes and tempo with Nisha and what he went, right? It's like getting that to align seems really difficult for them. You know, they want to play carries like Monkey King and Luna. Are those heroes in the meta? I don't fucking think so. I don't know what exactly the meta is, but it doesn't feel like it. And then like this 33 guy wants to play like Doom that got nerfed, or like the Beast Lycans that are getting de-zooified by Valve. These heroes are literally getting their summons reduced by facets and stuff. It's like, and then Nisha's he's a carry mid. That's how I kind of like, he can play everything, but I think he thrives when he's on, you know, his stuff that like ultra carries the game, like the Embers, the Tinkers, the Shadow Fiends, I
was about to say maybe he'll play Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, that
I think popping up.
That could be something that Liquid go back to this tournament. Like those types of heroes. I mean, unfortunately, the Tinker got obliterated in the patch. That probably sucks for them. That would have been a good hero for them. But heroes like that, right? SF also got nerfed. So maybe they're already just getting fucked by the patch again. But in theory, heroes like that, like the carry mids that they can roam to and play the 3-on-1 mid and snowball Nisho and have 2 independent side laners that are like Beast Monkey that are just ready to fight, take Roshans, give it to Nisha. That I think is how that team can function the best. But it just seems like the patch just keeps going away from that. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. That's a tough position for them. Be cool to see what they try and if they get stuff that's working, but I have no idea what that is. Like, who are the carry mids of the patch?
I would also say outside of the meta, I would say Liquid, they are in that spot that I always hard predict against these teams. Teams that I feel like their stock is going down. They're performing worse, but they still manage to get invited, right? It means they miss out on going through the qualifier experience. Obviously, you want to be invited, but that qualifier experience can be really good for teams. And it also means they're not going to be in the play-in stage either, right? They're just going to be missing out on a lot of Dota playing time for these official matches that I think would have been good for them.
Yeah,
and they're
that
just
is
going to
actually
get
a good
plopped
point.
into the final bit, and that's the worst for the teams that are just having zero momentum in official matches leading up to this. Maybe they had scrim momentum, but we've heard it time and time again. We're 16-0 in scrims, and they show up and shit the bed on the first day of playoffs.
Yeah, they're not a good scrim team from everything they said.
Yeah,
I actually didn't think about that, but yeah, that they're actually pretty screwed, actually, given the position, like on paper, because this team is also a team that if you think the last 2 years or so, they're a team that it's like the super old EG. They just get better the more series they can play in a tournament, right? Like Blitz will figure out more of what's working for the team. Insane will figure out his hero pool. Boxy will start just roaming and ganking people. He'll figure out what those heroes are and start cooking with them. Suddenly Nisha finds like his Kunkka +2 that you can't ban. He's a problem, but they need like series to do that. Usually they start pretty slow and they can sometimes struggle to get out of that group stage, but once they start building up, they can be really strong. I mean, this was a team that went from last chance qualifiers to top 3, right?
Yeah.
So
this is literally the opposite of that situation.
Yeah,
so
that sounds rough for them. That sounds really rough. I mean, I guess they can scrim there and stuff, but it doesn't feel like this team gets prepared as much through scrims as they do through like officials in a weird way. So that could hurt them. Yeah, you're just gonna like throw them in here. I mean, you still get a group stage, I guess.
It is similar to the previous majors where we had teams that got first in their region were slotted into the playoffs right away. And I think that showed it was pretty disastrous for those teams not to play the groups. It is kind of similar. Now, they still get to play a full-out group stage. There is, still that. So they do get some momentum off of that. But I just think they would be better suited to play more games. But either way, I think that kind of wraps up our predictions for Riyadh. I got a couple other things. I mean, really, it's just quick little shout out sort of things. Spirit have been putting out content for their team leading up to Riyadh. I'm sure you've seen it, Avery. It's the they do little spoofs on movies introducing each one of their players or staff. They actually included their staff, which I think is really cool. In just introducing them as a kind of as a character from a movie or TV show. They've done Hitman. They've done Hitman. They've done Fight Club. The latest one was Fight Club with Laurel, which I think was maybe the best one yet. They did How I Met Your Mother for one of their staff. I can't remember. I think Hitman was their analyst. Yeah, it's a pretty cool concept. I mean, Spirit just seems to be ahead of the game when it comes to content. We've talked about that before when it comes to teams doing content and doing it right. I think it is few and far between, and Spirit is definitely ahead of the game of most. So
yeah, they're cooking something, man. They're blowing everybody else out of the water because it feels like the investment in this stuff is also like not way overboard, like some of the esports scene stuff can be, right? People try and do these like really big expensive productions, and I think it's just, I mean, it's kind of the internet's going like it's better to just do smaller, TikTok reels for 20 seconds or whatever. So the stuff they're making is like short, easy. It looks like hits the point and move on to other content.
Well, you say big production stuff, but their Smells Like Teen Spirit was a really good music video, and I'm sure
something like that was. It didn't strike me as like something that took them multiple days and $50,000 or something, right? Like,
sure.
I also think it helps that, like stuff like that for them might be cheaper with their connections and maybe some of like a lot of the CIS teams have connections to the CIS studios and stuff like that, right? We've seen it in the past. I mean, a lot of these sponsors like BetBoom and stuff are just running their own tournaments. So you have these like random studio setups and production setups that might just be around. I wonder if that's something where like they take advantage of some of those setups.
Proximity as well. It's easier to get the players
it's cheaper,
in one place
it's easier. Yeah, maybe that has something to do with it too. Some of these Western teams, like you have players scattered across 3 continents and then you have a hub somewhere and then maybe you don't have a production studio set up at that hub, and it's like that just becomes a huge pain in the ass. Like it's better to do content on a tournament site, right? But if they have the capability to do that before a tournament, then yeah, it ends up being pretty good. So maybe there's some stuff working for them that they're taking advantage of, but they're definitely doing a nice job and goes a long way for sure. Builds up some hype.
We also have a little bit of drama that is just cropped up today, which I mean, I was going to say ask your opinion about, but I don't really think there's an opinion really to be had outside of this is bad, which was so there is the, have you seen the Beepo item duplication bug that is currently in the game, where you are able to duplicate items and your allies can sell those items, and obviously it is game breaking. And there's another one with Warlock and his grimoire thing as well, where you can somehow duplicate that item. So just get level 30 for all of your heroes. But that is in the game right now, and I imagine it is a frustrating experience. Whenever I see those sort of things, I usually just don't play Dota for that day. Did not play Dota today because I was like, well, that's going to happen in one of my games for sure.
Yeah, sure, that's why I didn't. Sure there, buddy. Keep telling yourself that.
All right, you want to check? You want to check Dota buff numbers right now? You want to see who's playing more Dota?
Yeah,
you want to see who's played more Dota in the last month?
Look, man, we're gonna be in Riyadh for 3 weeks, saving up my energy. I'm gonna be grinding it there on that European server, baby. Why would I play on NA server when I'm gonna be able to play on European server?
I don't believe you're gonna play very much Dota in Riyadh.
You're just stupid. You just don't understand the way of MMR economics, as usual, Austin.
Right. Hey, Priscilla, please, if you can write a little note, check 3 weeks from now, see how much Dota Avery plays at Riyadh. Check his Dota buff. Thank you.
Let's take a mental note. Let's 3 weeks from now check the total games me and Austin have both played in our lifetimes and competitively, and we'll put that up on screen. Thank you. Just make a note.
All right. So the added drama on top of this, it's a bug inside the game. That's shitty. The drama part is that Gorp encouraged his teammates and himself use the bug in one of his recent pubs, and a bunch of it went up on Reddit. So saw that. I don't think there's really much of an opinion to be had. It's just, that's shitty. Don't bug abuse, particularly if you're a known member of the community, because if you're an anonymous jackass on the internet, like, yeah, you can do that and get away with it and get your extra 30, 60, whatever MMR. But I don't think that MMR is going to be worth the blow to your reputation.
I mean, if I had $1 for every time a big streamer has done something stupid, I mean, wouldn't have to do this job. So it's nothing new, but I mean, I don't think Gorgc's like malicious. It's just some stupid, like, he's a guy who plays a lot. And when you play that much, you're going to get frustrated at anything that's like working against your effort, which is to go up in rank and gain MMR and have a good stream, right? So I understand that. It's really frustrating when you're probably playing these games and other people are just like cheating. You're like, fuck it, dude. If you're on my team, use that shit because it's going to like bounce out, you know? Like if I lose to this grimoire bug 4 times and having the guy do it on my team just gets me the MMR back that I lost unfairly anyway. Like, I understand it. I understand the frustration. I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should ever abuse bugs in Dota, but obviously people do.
He's got the Dota playing brain rot, where you get too locked into playing the game and lose sight of.
I mean, I've talked about it too. It's not. It's tough. Like when you play 12 games a day for that much for that long, you like enter your weird own life zone of like, what the hell is going on? Like it really does mess with your brain. So, I mean, power to him for doing that. He's made a career out of it. But damn, is that shit hard? So I'm never surprised when I see him in these types
for
of
making
situations.
a career out of streaming and playing Dota, is what you were saying, right?
Yeah, not abusing the bugs.
Not power to him for abusing
power
the
down.
bugs.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, whatever, man. Like, who gives a shit? I think people just...
Who gives a shit?
It's not like he's hacking the game or something. I'm not saying you should do it. It makes him look stupid. It's bad to do. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing it. But I do feel like people are always going to blow stuff out of proportion when it's streamers because it's someone to take your frustration out on, right?
Sure. Yes. The streamer will be the lightning rod for people's frustrations of their own losses.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just
they
like
lost 30 MMR and it's like Gorp took it directly from
I don't know.
them.
I feel like at this point in my life, I've just played so much Dota and I've won and lost so much MMR. It's just a number, guys. Like Dendy was right. It's just a number. Like, just get over it. You know, like 99.99999 infinitely % of people playing this game, your MMR will never matter for anything.
Well, my go-to is the fact that like when your MMR gets inflated randomly because of whatever, like double down stuff or whatever it is, you're gonna end up where you're supposed to be.
You're gonna drop back down anyway.
You're gonna drop back down. If you lose a bunch of MMR, people come to me all the time like, man, I was Divine 5 and I just lost 1,000 MMR and now I'm Herald whatever, right? And it's just like, dog, now the game's easier for you. Now you can have more fun playing the game because the game should be easier for you. And you should be winning more on average for your games. And that is just going to make your Dota experience better. You know? Don't worry so much about the number.
Like, Gorgc was dumb about this. But the one thing I'll say is if you find yourself getting mad, if you find your emotional state being affected by your MMR gain or loss, you should try and fix that. I'm not saying it's easy. It is really difficult because a lot of people invest a lot of time in this game. But I think it is worth thinking about, right? Like, I've thought about it a lot in my career, in my life. I'm sure you have. I think most pro players do because it affects them. You know, if your emotional state is bad and then you go into a tournament and you suck, that's millions of dollars. But in theory, like, it shouldn't be something that controls you to that degree because, I mean, it just doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. You're going to win 60 here, lose 80 there, minus 100 one day, plus 200 another day. Has anything changed in your life because of Dota 2 over the last 5 years? Step back and ask yourself that. And the answer is probably no. So you can let it go. You can let the number go and just enjoy the game.
Okay, we have a question for this week. Apologies for missing it last week. If you guys have any questions you want to ask for Avery or myself, let us know in the comments below. If you have a question and it has not been asked, I've got a full list of questions, and most of the time I'm only doing one an episode, so I'm getting through them. But if you've asked a question and you haven't heard it asked, keep dropping it in the comments. We will likely get to it eventually, but I got a whole backlog of what we're getting through right now. And the next one is one that is on. This is a longer one, and I want to try and cut it down a little bit. He said, "Hi, SVG and Cap." Sorry, this is from that guy in. Oh, got it. That guy Informer 27. He said, "Hi, SVG and Cap. Short background before my question on esports education. I live in both Korea and Philippines. Both countries are embracing esports as a career and have an actual educational course for it. For me, I know for a fact that most players in my country, Dota and League, are only high school level dropouts. My question is, does having a degree of BS Esports is the name of the degree, worth the delay for a young, talented player?" So I have a different question in mind, but first of all, let's start. Do you think these esports degrees are worth anything?
Nope.
No. They're just not worth anything.
I mean, the sad truth is most degrees aren't worth that much in the current economy. Like, a degree, in my opinion, a degree is worth a couple of things. One of them is if you need it as a requirement to get a certain job or position you want. In other words, you want to go to grad school, or you need a master's or something, right? To do a specific type of job, which there are jobs out there that require it. That is very useful for. If you feel like you need the degree on your resume to be able to apply to certain jobs and get them. A lot of, you're not going to get an engineering job without some sort of related major degree from a university most of the time. The field's too competitive. Same with like CS, right? So therefore it's indirectly necessary. The third thing is it gives you effective value through the connections you make by studying and working with other people who are going to the university and studying the same thing, which is a lot of times the real value of like going to university, honestly. You're going to meet other engineers or other computer programmers or other business people, and that's going to be worth a lot down the road. And then when you go and work in a field that maybe has requirements as well, that's hidden value in the degree. Now, I guess the real question to me is, like, does an esports degree do those things? I mean, I guess in theory it does. Like, you're going to meet other esports interested people, and those connections could be valuable.
I mean, for the first and second things that you said a degree does for you, no. It very likely will not.
I don't think
fact,
so. Like
that esports degree will more likely hinder you than a traditional degree.
That's what I would think.
When it comes to being on your resume and putting in this application to a company, they're going to see esports degree as opposed to whatever the hell else it is, and it's actually going to harm you.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think,
the question of whether the third, which is the connections that you make there,
can
that get you a job?
I feel like it's also not as useful. Like, I feel like you're almost always better off getting a degree in computer science or engineering and then minoring in esports or second majoring in esports. If you're like really want to do that, right? I mean, I don't want to be some like Debbie Downer either and just be like, oh, it has no value because it's something Zoomer new, you know? And like, I think stuff changes pretty fast. And like, there were times where computer science degree didn't have nearly as much value as it did 10 years later. And but the problem is like, as those things update, it also devalues the old degree anyway. Like a lot of times I know I talk to friends who are in computer science and it's like, by the time you graduate, some of your degrees already becoming outdated, right? It's like, they don't want to hire anybody who's more than 2 or 3 years out from getting the degree because there's new people coming along all the time and the stuff's constantly updating. So is esports in that category? I mean, it is tech, it is on the cutting edge, but I don't know. I just feel like you're probably better off getting an engineering or a CS degree and then going into esports anyway. And you're going to just look more legit to most of those like hiring entities, right? That's what I would imagine. I can't know, but that's my gut feeling. And what I'm saying is if you are still interested in the courses that a esports degree offers because you feel like they're useful, then get a degree in one of those other things and then take the extra courses.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can always do that. So I don't know. Mixed bag.
Somebody that I have talked to on the tournament organizer side when it comes to the esports degree specifically thing is that he tells people all the time, do not go for those. Because esports is a passion industry, which means there is a lot of useless motherfuckers in this industry. Just absolutely useless because they're just like, I like esports. Therefore, I want my job to be in esports. I want my whole life to be around esports. And they don't have any idea of what they actually want to do. They just have this vague notion of being involved in esports, but they don't actually know what they specifically are going to be doing within that very broad field. There is a demand for a lot of jobs there, but they are all, just like any other production industry, can be kind of specialized. And you need to decide what you actually want to do. Do you want to be a producer? Do you want to be a player manager? Do you want to, do you want to be on the marketing side of things? Do you want to be advertising? There are so many different things that you can do in esports. You can work in esports with a traditional degree. So first you have to decide what your day-to-day job is going to be. What do you actually want to do from 9 to 5? The company that you're involved in can be whatever company. And you can get a traditional degree and go and work for a traditional, company somewhere. And then if you really still care about esports, then you can make that transition over to esports with that traditional degree. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. In fact, that experience that you have in the traditional field will be very valuable because your field of competitors, the people who are trying to get the same job, are going to be, again, a whole bunch of useless motherfuckers who all just came in and be like, I just love esports, and then have they've just kind of stumbled into having a job and have been kind of useful, but ultimately do not have an actual field of expertise or anything like that. So don't be that guy. Don't just go into, I want to be in esports. Figure out something that you actually want to do as a job first, and then if you want to try and end up being in the industry of esports, that's fantastic. For my personal side, right, if you want to be in the broadcasting side of things, right, esports is also a field that is way more open as a result of being a newer industry.
Well, didn't you say player? Doesn't this question say player? Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, they were just talking about esports education and just
what did it say at the end? He said if he wants to play.
My question is, does having a degree of BS esports worth a delay for a young, talented player?
Yeah, player.
Yeah.
Hell no. What are we even talking about, that dude? This guy wants to play. Hell no. It ain't going to help you for shit. The only thing that helps you become a professional esports players playing the game as much as you can and playing with better people and talking to people who play the game who are better than you. That's it. And playing with them, learning as much from them, which you can do while getting a degree. I just wanted to say it.
Yeah. So they go on to talk about how a lot of these retired esports players in Korea and Philippines do not really have any continuation for their career ladder, right? They become a player and then that stops. Yeah. Some of them end up becoming a coach or something like that, but that's few and far between, right? Most of them don't really have anything left, right?
Yeah,
they just have to roll the dice on either becoming a coach or getting lucky and riding somebody's coattails onto broadcast talent.
Yep, that's right. That's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to do it. I mean, that is why I didn't. I mean, I did it though, right? Like I finished university and got degrees, and then was still growing my player career at the same time. Like you can do it.
You have 2 degrees, right?
Yeah, I double majored and was going to Dota tournaments. And I considered myself lazy. Like I'm not I did not have good work ethic in college. This is not like some humble brag thing. It was like, I was spending all my free time trying to become good at Dota instead of going and doing other clubs or something, right? It fills that slot. But you do have a lot of time in college because, I mean, you're just on your own. So if you want to dedicate to something like that, you can, but you're going to miss out on other college stuff. That was a choice I made because I thought it would be interesting, whatever. But I'm saying you can more than easily get a degree and pursue a professional esports career. And then, hey, if you get that career, you still have a degree to do something after your career's done. And if it fizzles out, then you still have a degree and you can go do stuff in esports anyway. Like it's the way better course to do this on. But I would not do it with an esports degree. I don't think it's not going to help you become a better player, I think that is like, unless that, I mean, maybe there's like courses in that degree taught by former esports professionals or sports psychologists or stuff. I think those courses could be interesting and useful for sure. But then again, are you like, how many of those are there? And is that enough to justify an entire degree around it? I don't know.
So part of the reason I asked this question is that I think a more interesting and divisive question that is in the similar field of esports versus education. If somebody has the opportunity to be able to go full time into being a pro player, but they means they have to drop out of college to do it, right? You are able to manage both, but there are a lot of situations where people can't manage to do both. Do you think that they should drop out of college to be a pro player?
What? I mean, who am I, God? How do I know the answer to that shit? Like, that's such an individual question. It's super dependent on your situation, financial, mental, health, family. Like, there's so many factors there. Safety net,
chances of success in the playing.
I mean, you could
field,
say the same thing about any traditional athlete. Like, should someone not go to college to get drafted into an NBA or something? Like, I mean, if you think you're good enough and you're going to make it, I'm not going to shut down your dream. But everything in life's a trade-off. You can't do everything in life, so you have to choose what the risk reward's worth it and what you're really passionate in and what you actually enjoy and your faith in yourself. You have to take the leap of faith at some point, no matter what you do, or you're probably going to regret it. So I feel like if you regret not doing something, you should probably do it. But if you just want to do it because it's fun, but there's other stuff that you would also have fun doing and you don't know where any of it's going to end up, then like it's not the safest option. If you're someone who is going to feel really bad about potential downside and failure, then you probably shouldn't do it, right? If you're someone who needs super high risk in your life to feel alive, well, maybe you should do it. If you're like me and you just hate filling out grad school applications, I mean, then you got to do it, bro. You got to do it. Like I reached my application limit. I could not write any more stupid fucking essays about, your resume and all this bullshit. So I decided to go to Germany and play a tournament. Like the breaking point, there's a breaking point for everybody in life. You just got to figure out where those are and do your best, man. But I'm not some like Zen master philosopher who can answer that shit. I don't know. I've talked to people who tried to help them, but shit's tough, man. There's no easy answer. It's not easy to become a professional athlete in anything. It's really not easy in esports because it looks easy and it's definitely not. And your percentage to do it successfully is incredibly small. And people always underestimate how difficult it is. And they always underestimate how good the good people are. It's insane to me. Like I talk to people who are like good players who want to go pro or whatever, 10K, 11K MMR players definitely have the capability. And it's just like, I see them where I was 10 years ago. of like, dude, you haven't even touched like what competitive Dota is even really about, you know? Which isn't to say you couldn't do it, but that is just such a moonshot. You know, like there's like 1 or 2 guys who get picked up a year because they're the top of the top, like a Maureen or a Thompson. If you're one of those, yeah, you get your career jump started a hell of a lot. You're just straight to the top. But if you're not one of those, man, it is a long slog, and 90% of players don't really make what they want out of it, even if they get to a decent spot. So
yeah,
not a career recommendation I would make lately. You have to really be into it, or really know what you're doing, or have an edge. Like you're a savant or a mechanical prodigy or a mental strategic prodigy or something. Like I felt like I had a chance because I felt like I'm a pretty smart person. Like I felt like if I could go in Dota, and even if I wasn't mechanically as good as a lot of players, or I didn't have the biggest hero pool, or I hadn't played for 10 years up to that point, like Puppy, I still had a chance because I felt like I could figure stuff out a bit better, a bit faster. Like that was my edge, at least in my mind.
You thought you were smarter than the other people.
Yes, to put it bluntly.
Position 5 all the way through.
But the thing is, you have to have something like that. Like you can't go in and just be like, well, I have less games than these guys, and I'm probably not going to be as mechanically good, and I'm not going to outsmart them, and I haven't been playing for 10 years like Puppy, and well, then what the fuck are we doing? Like, how are you going to gain an edge, right? You have to have faith in something to give yourself confidence, because you're going to fail, and you're going to lose some qualifier and be like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And then if you don't have something in the back of your mind, like, you know what? No, I'm still better than these clowns, and to put you back in there, you're done. You're absolutely done. Everybody has some equivalent of that. Maybe they just think they're mechanical god. Maybe they think the best mid player on earth, like Sumail, right? Like they're just going to win because it's the divine mandate. Like maybe they think they're the biggest alpha dog captain in the world. Maybe they think they got the biggest dick. I don't know, man. Everybody's got something, but you got to have something to push yourself back in the ring. So if you don't have that, then you're really screwed. So good luck. You know, I salute anybody trying to do it. There'll be a lot of people that do it. There'll be a lot more than fail. So you got to have some edge, man. You got to have some edge.
I just imagine some player just heartbroken, lost their qualifier. They're like, do I keep doing this? What have I done with my life? And then they just pull down their pants. They look down. And they're like, no, I got this.
I mean, you're joking, but like I have heard dumber shit work in the realm of competitive sports / esports, right? Like you have to have this mindset. Like you don't think some of these guys effectively thought that way? Like these Michael Jordans and Kevin Garnett's and shit. They just thought they were like more beastly than other dudes, right?
Yeah. Like
I'm just better than you. I'm just gonna dog on you. Like I am just better than you in every aspect of being a person. Yeah. You cannot beat me. Like that's how they think. You have to have some aspect of that. It doesn't mean that it has to be your entire personality, but like I think the players that don't win everything in the end are missing something of that somewhere.
Yeah. I would say I think the traditional response to this question is always, of course not, education comes first and all that sort of thing. But I think the one thing that people don't really talk about so much, and I think it is kind of a shame, is the fact that you can go back to college. You can go back to technical school. You can go back and get an apprenticeship. Like age, you don't have this limited window to grow as a person and learn and become, better.
I mean, people like to say that, but that's not really true.
What? That is true. That happens all the time for people who have full-on careers and are unhappy with their jobs. They make lateral moves all the time. They go back to school. They go back and decide to, to become a nurse or, like something like that, right? That happens all the time. That is a move that I might have to make at some point in time. You know?
Sure. I mean, it's very doable.
Esports broadcasting, Max.
But what I'll say is that I think there's an asterisk on that, which is it's not as easy as people make it sound, and not everybody can do it. It's not something that you should just be like, oh, I'll always be able to do that, because you might get to a point in life where you no longer have, after everything you've gone through, the mental energy and the will to go and do that. That changes for people, and you don't know where you're going to be. That's all I'm saying.
I will agree with that. I think, mental energy is a big part of limiting that. And I would say that is already part of the problem, right? Of being able to put it out there and be like, you won't be able to do it later on, right? You are already, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point in time, that you will not be able to do it at a later point in time. You can always be able
No. I'm saying you don't know where you're going to be in life.
Yeah,
when I started this 10 years ago, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, if it doesn't work out, I can just go back to school for like I can just go reapply to grad programs or something, right? Or do what I was going to do. But now that I'm 10 years into this, and I still have these thoughts in my mind of like, if I quit tomorrow, would I be able to go back and do a grad program or go to med school or something? I don't think I could. Like, I'm telling you, like, I don't think I have the innate willpower anymore.
And I am trying to motivate people that you can have that. You can push yourself.
Of course you
to do
can.
That.
You just don't know is all I'm saying. Like, I think I still could if I really forced myself to. I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, I think there are a lot of people that do it, but I'm saying, like, people also don't talk about the fact that you're not gonna, like, there's limits to this stuff, right? Like, you want to, my point is, you want to invest in something that's going to pay off long term to get satisfaction out of it. And there's a downside to doing something for 10 years and then just throwing that all away and going into something completely new. That's a bad feeling. It's a really bad feeling.
Yeah, it is a bad feeling.
That's the thing people don't talk about. And you have to be willing to do that. And sometimes it's like, people don't want to be in that position.
I fully disagree with this, actually. I fully disagree with it. That is a bad feeling to have to throw that away. But if you are unhappy in your path of life, you should be willing to throw it away and invest into something new, right? And that is something that, like, I think that people do not realize that is as much of an option as it is, right? That I think that, okay, so my example is my mom, right? Single mom, went back to college and, got her degree when I was like, 9, 10, something like that, right? She went back, started a whole new career, right? To be able to support the two of us, right? I'm at a point where esports broadcasting, that's an extremely limited lifeline, may not have any developing potential, right? And, I'm prepared to, like, basically have a second career. And there's no real problem or there should be no real shame of being like, 30, 40, 50 and starting something new again. And I just want to put that out to people,
Power to you, man. Power to you. I'm glad you're supporting people out there. Best of luck to them. I can give my advice. Hopefully it works. I'm just saying, if you're someone who needs certain things, pursue those things. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Be aware of the upsides, be aware of the downsides, and evaluate it accordingly.
The end of this was, don't get an esports degree.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that.
Don't do that. Thanks for your question. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.